How does this and this even happen? To solve this question, I used the website SteamDB to take a look at my most played games. And yes, VRChat is in the top 3, unfortunately. After pondering this for a while, I found that there were 3 main factors that contribute to a game's replayability: variety, multiplayer, and improvement. Many, if not all, of the games on my list lend themselves to multiple or even all 3 of these factors. The first and most obvious of these factors would be variety. If a game has more content and things to do for a player, it's more likely that the player is going to want to continue to play the game until they've completed most or all of the content. A perfect example of variety in a game would be Warframe. A game that has practically unlimited content because its devs just keep adding more and more. So even if you're a veteran player, you can still have something new to go and do. I have over 300 hours in Warframe, and I've still barely even scratched the surface of what it has to offer. In a similar yet different style, Gary's Mod is easily moddable using the Steam Workshop, which allows players to add whatever they want to the game. Want to build cool and complicated contraptions? You can. Want to have a realistic firefight with your buddies? You can. Want to race vehicles around? Easy. And with Gary's Mod, the list goes on and on. There's hundreds of thousands of mods on the workshop, so there's practically unlimited possibilities for what you can achieve with this. Variety doesn't only refer to the amount of content a game has. It can also refer to the variety of the systems within the game. For example, games like Gmod, Scrap Mechanic, Space Engineers, and From the Depths all have very detailed building mechanics, which allow for near limitless possibilities for what players can create. Having these complex building systems in a game allow players to create anything they could possibly imagine, as long as they're good enough with the tools provided to them. And this brings us to our next factor: improvement. Improvement can take 2 main forms: in-game improvement and mechanical improvement. In-game improvement is mainly seen in RPGs or similar looting games. For example, in Warframe and the Borderlands games, the player gets stronger as they continue to loot better and better gear for their characters. Seeing damage numbers go up and min-maxing a build can be very addicting, and is very rewarding for players, as they continue to get stronger and stronger, and early game content becomes easy. But this isn't the only case where improvement can add to a game's replayability. As players continue to familiarize themselves with the game's mechanics and refine their skills, they will improve at the game. This is most commonly seen in competitive multiplayer games, as the only real goal is to win by being better than your opponents. Games like Counter-Strike, Rainbow Six Siege, Overwatch, and Marvel Rivals all use this form of replayability to keep players coming back. Although this type of improvement isn't usually seen within competitive PvP games, it can also be seen in PvE games. For example, Souls-like games. While yes, there is in-game improvement in these games, because they're RPGs, it's nearly impossible to beat a Souls-like game without quote-unquote getting good. The feeling you get when you finally defeat a boss that you've been dying to for hours is extraordinarily rewarding, because it was your skill alone that finally allowed you to succeed. This feeling is clearly quite addictive and continues to bring players back to a game, which can be clearly seen with the wild successes of Elden Ring and the Dark Souls game series, as well as many imitators. With all of that being said, this brings us to our last factor of replayability: multiplayer. As we discussed in the improvement section, multiplayer is commonly used as an incentive to continuously improve at a game in order to beat the competition. This works to add replayability for basically any multiplayer game that's PvP. Ever. In fact, every single game in my top 25 most played games has multiplayer in some capacity. A perfect example of a game that relies solely on multiplayer replayability is VRChat. This is because VRChat, there basically is no content, there is no improvement, and yet It becomes replayable based on the sole fact that it has social multiplayer. But there's one more factor that we haven't discussed that contributes to replayability. An X factor, if you will. And that is personal taste. No matter how many of these factors a game might have, if you don't enjoy it, and if it's not fun, it's simply not going to be replayable. I mean, that's just how it is. Regardless of how hard a game developer may try, no game is going to be enjoyable and playable by everyone. Except for like Minecraft or something like that, maybe. To sum things up, the three main factors that contribute to a game's replayability are variety, within a game's mechanics as well as its content, multiplayer, both social and competitive aspects, and improvement, whether it's in-game stats or a player's real skill. Each of these factors can be utilized by game developers in order to make their games more replayable. The ones that take them to the extreme, like variety in Gary's mod, multiplayer in VR chat, and improvement in, well, basically any competitive shooter that's popular, seem to have great success in retaining players for hundreds, if not thousands, of hours. Well, that's all I have for now. Thanks, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What are your most played games? Is there a secret fifth factor that contributes to replayability? Let me know if I missed anything. Thanks, guys.